It is good to see everyone. Welcome everyone from both Speculate and my own Twitch channel. Welcome to episode 7 of Blades in the Dark, the case of the Cindered Seal, with Brandon O'Brien as your GM. I am your host, Gregory Wilson on Speculate, and Arvin Eleron here on the channel. Co-host of Speculate, of course, with my good friend and fellow author, Michael R. Underwood. But before I introduce both him and the rest of the crew and allow Brandon to begin things with this continuing series, I do want to remind everybody about a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank our Speculate listeners as always, and remind you all that you can give us feedback of the shows at speculatesf.com. And also make a note that we have a couple of cool positive changes coming up. Not changes to the overall concept of the show, which is going to remain the same, but there are going to be a few things that are added on, some good things coming down the line, basically, that you'll want to stay tuned for. So thank you all if you have supported us, and we really appreciate any help that you folks are able to give. I also want to thank everyone, of course, on my own channel, who is here, for which I am known as Arvin Eleron, and I want to thank you all for being here as well, and for checking us out as Blades in the Dark continues in this joint channel and Speculate event. Speaking, by the way, of those channels, I am going to mention that you can support the Speculate Patreon at patreon.com/speculate, and I hope folks will do that because it does make it a lot easier for us to do things like audio editing work and other things, and we would love to be able to bring you more shows of this sort and to entertain you even further, but we can only do that if we have the financial support to do so. So any kind of support you folks can give would be much appreciated. Please let people know as time goes on. So we've got that going on. Otherwise, just a couple of quick notes about schedule. On the channel side, you can support us by checking out the YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets, website arvineleron.com, !ArvShop for the merchandise area of the channel, !ArvTrayon for the channel Patreon, and of course the sub button so that you can get those awesome custom sub badges and emotes and all that kind of stuff. And on the publishing side, !Icarus for details about my Icarus graphic novel coming out in retail on November 10th from Athos Arts, !Library for Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, which is a 5e adventure sourcebook from the from the minds at Alligator Alley Entertainment. That is now coming out in print, which I'm very excited about. That'll be out any day now because it is being printed as we speak, so it just has to be shipped out. And then Greyshade KS for details about my Greyshade Kickstarter, which is launching February 2nd of 2021, so that is coming soon as well. And of course, we have BLM, Black Lives Matter. This continues to be something that this channel and Speculate would support in every way, so please click that link in my channel to be able to get more information about that. And Vote Now. As we come to you, we are now only about, I believe it is 7, 8, 9, about 9 days, I believe, out from the election, so we are closing in the United States, and this is an extraordinarily important one, so if you haven't already done so, please get registered to vote, get set to vote, and make sure you have a plan for voting. A lot of people have already voted early, which is heartening to see, but that needs to continue. We need an overwhelming turnout to repudiate fascism, and assuming that you're on board with that, and I hope you are, then we hope you will be getting ready to vote and be ready as a U.S. citizen to do so. If you're not a U.S. citizen, just please, if you're able to support the U.S. folks as much as they can, we're trying to put us back on a rather more sane path, I would say. Quick note as well about one thing about schedule notes, and that is, and one other sort of larger announcement. The larger announcement, actually, I'll make first, and that is actually, I'll save that. You know what? I take that back. I'll save that for just a moment. So, schedule note, which is to say that right now we are doing, of course, Blades in the Dark, the case of the Cindered Seal, with the Speculate joint event. Tomorrow night, Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, will be Emberwind with the Ember crew, and then on Tuesday at noon, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is the Patreon-fueled chat-chosen game of the month, which I will be playing. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, we have got continuing the Vaporum Lockdown playthrough over on Pen and Pixels. Then Wednesday and Thursday are off. And on Friday into Saturday, the big, huge end of the Curse of Strahd campaign with Infinity and Beyond will start Friday night at 7 p.m. We will end at 2 a.m. on Saturday the 31st. So we will end the Curse of Strahd campaign one way or the other on Halloween, which I'm pretty excited about. And then Halloween night, we will have the annual thing of the reading of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and one other story by Edgar Allan Poe, I haven't decided what, plus some playing of Metroid Fusion, which I'm sure will make the Rising Tides feel happy, because I know is a big fan of that. So that's what we got going on. Very excited about today, and I hope folks are ready for all those things. And with that said, I am now going to unmute myself and apologize profusely for whoever I may have accidentally interrupted while I was going over. And then we're going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal a very excited, happy crew, which I'm sure was not laughing about some joke that was just made in the green room, but was talking about this exciting adventure that we're about to do. And before I hand things over to Brandon, the announcement that I wanted to make was just a reminder to folks that next month, this is November 22nd, I believe, Brandon O'Brien's Sundays will continue on this channel with a special one-day fundraising event for Sound Clash: The Clampdown. This is the game that was designed by Brandon and which has been run on my channel for the last couple of months. It's going super well. It is a really, really cool campaign and world and concept. But we want to try to raise some money to be able to get a custom video with custom music because it just deserves its own musical intro and all that. And we would love to be able to put this into an audio format for podcast consumption a la Speculate. But again, that requires some of the monies. So to get that, we are going to be doing an awesome fundraising event. It will be a single day. It will feature both myself and, of course, Brandon prominently. And it will also feature the players of Sound Clash: The Clampdown and others. So if you want to have fun on a Sunday and also support a worthy campaign and a worthy cause, then you should mark your calendars and make sure that you are where all the cool kids will be. And that is Sunday, November 22nd, starting in the morning Eastern, for that fundraiser. More details to come. With that said, I am now very excited to hand over to Brandon the reins for what I expect is going to be a really awesome session. I'm going to be watching all of you while grading because that's how my life is lived. So I'm going to look forward to grading, and also I hope I don't make any comments about people that are made of meat, creatures that are made of meat in the midst of grading. I really hope I don't get the wrong point across. With that said, have a great session, everybody, and Brandon, floor is yours.
Hi, hello everybody. I'm glad to be back again for another session of the Case of the Cindered Seal. Before we begin our introductions and whatnot, I would like to follow up Greg's note about worthy campaigns to remind again that the Athos Arts Anthology in this moment is still on Kickstarter. It is presently 4 days to go and roughly 24% funded. So a lot needs to happen. The moon and the earth kind of have to move in order for this to meet its initial funding goal. But I really do think that this anthology is genuinely important. I think it's really significant to have, in particular, marginalized people discuss their own circumstances and their own relationship to the present moment that we're presently experiencing. I think that's valuable for more people to be able to get that kind of acknowledgement, get that kind of perspective in order for us to potentially move out of this moment into a brighter, more positive, more holistic one. And at this point, all I can ask is at least that you share the link out so other people can see it. Promote this anthology, let other people know exactly how important we think it is. I think the work that we have planned for this anthology is genuinely important, and I think is really radical to have more content like this in the world. So please, if you could give it any support as possible, I would really appreciate it. With that, let's move into the ongoing story of this band of fugitives attempting to unravel the mystery of the Cindered Seal. First, we should begin with introductions, starting with Mike.
Hey everybody, this is Mike, co-host of Speculate with Greg. Thank you everybody who is watching and to everyone who watches the video on demand, and to our wonderful listeners. A huge thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. All of the funds right now from Patreon go to paying our lovely audio editor, Rudy Basso. And if we're able to increase that funding level, we'll be able to get episodes out a little bit faster and make some other kind of structural improvements to what we do with the show. And thank you very much to everybody who's already supporting the show. You can find me on Twitter at Mike R. Underwood, and my website is michaelrunderwood.com. I am playing Ring Dalmore, who is the Spider Playbook, a haunted kind of Scotland war veteran from Akaros, who has brought home lots of feelings and memories and such things from the war, and has found himself tangled up with a lovely bunch of misfits. And that's me.
Nice. Next, Valerie.
Hello, I am Valerie Valdes. I play Skelly, your itinerant hound. I am the author of Chilling Effect and Prime Deceptions, two space operas that have a lot of found family and wild shenanigans. And yeah, I'm here to have a good time. Let's do it.
A good time. Okay, we'll see if we can meet that goal. Next, Jeoi.
Hello, Jeoi. I am a game writer, and you can find me at This Is My Design on Twitter. I play Crossroads, who is a whisper formerly made of meat, now made of metal, and many disturbing revelations, which probably are mostly not true, as it will discover to its chagrin this episode when it talks to the creator of said lies.
Okay. And next, Iori.
Iori Kusano, class of 2017 Clarion West, fiction in Apex, shitposts on Twitter. I play Of the Flame the Ash, a Severosi lurk, sometimes antique dealer, and the spinner of the lies that got Crossroads safely out of that warehouse last episode. And Ash will probably disappoint Crossroads a lot today. Also, it is the 26th in Japan, which makes me the birthday gremlin.
Woo! Happy birthday!
So that is 14 consecutive years of defeating the prophecy. I am vindicated.
Duly noted. Happy birthday, Iori. We're really glad that you could join us on your birthday to play this wild experience of the case of the Cindered Seal. Especially considering one of the first things that you have to do is reconcile with the aftermath of our last session, being finally entering the den in Dunslow, where several Severosi work and play and eat and sleep. One among them being a gentleman named Hunger, who revealed a great deal of things to you, but only under the assurance that Ash has given that Crossroads is actually a priest of the imperishable wing, the bird god that we have been noting for several sessions prior, and therefore is somehow spiritually connected to this entire pursuit in general, which may or may not be a lie. It may be some version of the truth, even, perhaps, we don't know. But after that experience in Dunslow, you have now left to go about whatever other business you would like to pursue, of which I would like to ask. First, Ash, where are we headed? In fact, this is a general question, but I would like to hear Ash's idea in particular of where you leave, where you head after you leave Dunslow.
We're going to need to go somewhere safe. So at this point, what's closer? Ash's antique shop or the grave cave or someone else's hideout? And, well, we know Skelly's place is extremely not private, so I think Skelly's place might be a little ruled out, but...
I mean, all three of those places would be reasonably decent places to go. although to head to Skelly's at this time of night um, is usually particularly sketchy. Um, Not the kind of sketchy you can't handle, but sketchy. I think that Skelly would know. Um,
Yep.
and I would say that it is perfectly fair for you to travel on foot to um the grave cave m- m- in less time than it would take for you to get to the antique shop.
Grave Cave seems like it makes sense. Let's get takeaway on the way.
I was just thinking that.
Okay, what do you get?
Food.
Like it doesn't
What's the
matter.
what's the Dunslow equivalent of a kebab stand? Do we just have straight up kebab stands?
Right. So this is where I say, um, so not all of the fish in this world is safe for consumption still. So there's a lot of whale meat. You might be lucky to get like if you get a clean tuna, that clean tuna goes for a lot of money unnecessarily. Um so there is a lot of it's these weird kind of like combo food stands that you can get where it's essentially kebabs, but what if uh barely cooked shrimp or tuna meat? Um Crepes,
eel.
but what if they're full of eel? Um
If it's full
so
of eel, I'm 100% down.
okay, do you all buy eel crepes?
I think Ring gets like fried eel bites
Mm-hmm.
because they remind them of the like ancient gnarly cast iron pans from the war where the kitchen tents would just keep things going and the seasoning would just become like an eldritch bit of burned crunch on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ash has the eel because Ash grew up in the desert and is still fascinated by seafood, even the bad stuff. I think maybe she doesn't actually know what good scallops taste like. But she's had scallops and she's very excited by them. She thinks they're neat.
Okay, duly noted.
Crossroads stares at the food and waits to see if it remembers anything. It doesn't have a stomach that
Are you
functions as a stomach anyway. So
are you deliberately attempting to remember a thing in this moment?
no, it's more that Crossroads knows that there are particular, like sometimes it hears something or it smells something or it sees something that kind of makes that foggy, mysterious bleh that occupies what was I when I was alive shift a little bit. So it's more kind of like seeing if like if a smell memory is triggered or something of the sort.
I would like you to give me a 2 die fortune roll.
A 2 die fortune roll. Okay.
While that is happening, Skelly, are you getting anything to eat?
Yep. Big sack of deep fried eel with the bits.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's a 5 and a 4 on the 2 die fortune roll.
Okay. There is this brief, like, this happened like almost so suddenly that you don't notice when you have stopped like being in the market square where everybody is buying food and started being in this memory / dream state where the sound of eel frying immediately like snaps you into this moment and you turn to the direction where you see it and now you're seeing the door to Runa's kitchen from the dining room. And the apartment is like full of people. There all of the other seats on the dining table are full. There are a handful of folks leaning against the dining room wall with like beers in their hand. Rune is like peeking through the door, having idle conversation while a skillet is literally still in her hand. Um, the room is lively with conversation. But at the moment that you've entered this moment, you have very little idea what anybody is actually talking about. Like, when you get into the middle of a conversation that has been like between people who are so tight knit that if you didn't know these people very well, you'd have no idea. You think they were talking in code. And like they're laughing and trading jokes that totally go over your head. And you turn to face the folks at the table. And there is someone on the other side of that table that in this moment, for no reason whatsoever, you look at them and they seem to you like somebody that you may have been related to when you were meet.
Ugh.
And
Oh no.
your visible disgust immediately takes you out of that moment.
Crossroads is now standing in the marketplace, realizing that when it was meat, it was related to other meat things. It doesn't really like that idea, but it does not vocalize any of these ideas.
Okay. So has everyone gotten something to eat?
I got an extra bag and I approach Crossroads and I'm like, hey, can I
Oh, I bet that keeps it warmer longer, right?
Oh, okay, says Crossroads, and
Oh, you know what? Not here probably. You're right. Let's go.
oh, okay. Crossroads doesn't understand what's happening. But basically, once they are out of sight, like the group is out of sight, and Skelly hands over the bag of food, Crossroads takes the bag and then puts the whole thing in its mouth and just holds it like that.
So soon we're going to have to get Crossroads the thermos box upgrade for its haul.
Yeah, that will at some point. I will literally, like, just for the sake of story, I will give you all that at some point. But as it stands, everyone is now continuing on their way to the Bat Cave. Ring, give me a 1-die fortune roll.
Okay. I can
I
do
like
that. Then.
fortune rolls. Fortune rolls are actually very versatile.
Yeah.
Notes, question mark, question mark?
Yeah, question mark, question mark.
Okay. I got a 6. Hopefully that's good.
Yata.
A 6 is good. A 6 is good. You don't get jumped in the middle of the night. That roll was literally to decide whether you were going to get ambushed by anyone.
Fair.
So
I have
yeah.
a whole bag of fried eels in my mouth. I am not afraid. Let's get jumped.
Did we do all of the payoff stuff last session? I don't remember.
If I recall correctly, we did.
Okay.
But you can go over anything that we may have missed.
Did we get an entanglement? Are we going to do an entanglement? They're bad for us, but they're fun.
I mean,
it might be hunger now, since Ash did promise if I hear anything that will keep you out of trouble, I'm going to help you.
I would like to
Obligation.
I would like to do entanglements proper, but I would like for that roll moment to wait until you get into a physical place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we are still headed over to the Batcave, and you get to the Batcave without any issues.
Do we take the secret elevator down?
I don't know. Do you?
Ring would like to do that.
Let's
Okay.
not use
Does
the
anyone
slide.
want to fall down the hole?
No. I mean, we're all holding bags of hot, greasy stuff. Let's maybe not take the slide today.
Half
I
of
have it
half
in
of
my
Skelly's
mouth.
bag is
I'm-
empty already. Yeah, no, like
Right.
it did not survive the trip.
Ring's parents raised them to believe that you should not go swimming or on ridiculous murder slides for 30 minutes after eating.
Duly
Crossroads only
noted.
just realized that it had meat parents and would rather not think about that.
Skelly did not have
Oh.
parents. All Skelly knows is eating really fast because the one who eats the fastest eats the most.
That's quite a way to enjoy food, I imagine.
Mm-mm. That's why food's a vice. It's like if she's gonna enjoy it, it's got to be in very particular circumstances.
Okay, so you all arrive in the elevator to the Batcave without any issues. And you arrive inside and see that nothing has changed. Before we get into anything else, I would like to actually find the entanglement section of this book. First, of course, that means that we need to answer a question about heat. Which, given the circumstances, you didn't gain any heat this session. Because you ended that interaction rather amicably at that point. But did you already have any heat at this point?
How
We
many
might-
people saw the cops get electrocuted?
Yeah, I think it's fair that we might have accumulated some heat in like before the score when we weren't
Yeah.
tracking as much of the crew stuff.
The
Mhm.
bit where the cop got zapped on the street, like, probably generated a teeny bit of heat.
The most minor of bits. I'm particularly thinking about the time that you zapped a cop right in front of another cop and then ran.
That was the
Um,
cop's fault.
Well, I mean, I'm not. That is perfectly true, but you still zapped the cop.
But there were lots of
so-
crickets, so we could blame it on the crickets. So let's say the crickets got all the heat because they crisped, and we're fine.
That was the
That's-
first cop zapping incident, though. The
Yeah.
second one didn't have crickets involved. Maybe we need to get you more crickets, just so you have something to blame it all on.
Right, crickets, we just acquire asset crickets, and then when we take heat, the crickets take the heat for us.
Yes.
Unfortunately, crickets cannot be tried in a court of law.
What?
That's
I-
the problem with the court of law.
That is speciesist.
Oh my word. Okay. So the reason why I ask is because I am aware of the fact that Ring has a thing, and I want to be reminded how the thing works as soon as possible.
I have several things. So my stuff, I don't have anything that impacts heat or entanglements.
Are you sure you don't have a thing that impacts heat?
I don't believe so. Let's look at the crew sheet. So we do have no traces, which is about rep. And it says when you end downtime with 0 heat, take +1 rep. So depending on that and depending on what we do in downtime, we might get that bonus.
Uh-huh.
And that's the move No Traces from The Fugitives playbook by Brandon O'Brien on itch.io.
Thank you.
Buy
Right.
your
So
copy today.
So this also says when you keep an operation quiet or make it look like an accident, you get half the rep value of the target rounded up instead of 0, which does not come into play here as either. So It stands to reason that the time that you zapped that cop, you should have 1 heat. Which means that no traces, unfortunately, does not come into play at this point,
Well,
which is saddening.
if somebody does a move to reduce heat, we could end downtime with 0 heat. But right
Yes.
now, we are not likely to get that unless someone takes an action.
Indeed. So, okay, duly noted. That means that I know that thing, which is how we immediately get into the entanglement step. Which I'm going to read aloud straight from the book. Your scoundrels and crew didn't just spring into existence tonight. You have a complex history of favors, commitments, debts, and promises that got you where you are today. To reflect this, after each score, you roll dice to find out which entanglement comes calling. An entanglement might be a rival crew looking to throw their weight around and demand some coin, an investigative the city watch making a case against your crew, but ready for a bribe, or even the attention of a vengeful ghost. After payoff and heat are determined, the GM generates an entanglement for the crew using the lists below. Find the column that matches the crew's current heat level, which would be heat 0 to 3. Then roll a number of dice equal to their wanted level, and use the result of the roll to select which sort of entanglement manifests. If the wanted level is 0, roll 2 dice and keep the lowest result. So, your wanted level is presently 0, correct? So
Yep.
you roll 2 dice and keep the lowest result.
Who's gonna roll?
Let's make Ring roll. I feel like Ring's kind of the unofficial squad leader at this point.
I was gonna
mean,
say the same thing. From a character perspective, it would have to be Ring.
I have described Ring previously as having like squad parent energy. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 5 and a 5.
Dang.
A 5 and a
Nice.
5. On the heat 0 to 3 table, 5s are rivals or the unquiet dead. So I'm going to read both of those things. And you're going to tell me which one of those things sounds better to you.
Who are our rivals?
Rivals. A neutral faction throws their weight around. They threaten you, a friend, a contact, or one of your vice purveyors. Forfeit 1 rep or 1 coin per tear of the rival, or stand up to them and lose 1 status with them. And unquiet dead. A rogue spirit is drawn to you. Perhaps it's a past victim. Acquire the services of a whisper or railjack to attempt to destroy or banish it, or deal with it yourself. So
well,
I'm gonna
we
say,
technically already have a whisper.
Yeah, we have an unquiet spirit already.
yeah,
Crossroads was the entanglement the whole time.
Wait, if there
I would
was
like
a
to-
second unquiet spirit, would Crossroads then have to fight the other spirit like this is Pokemon?
oh god.
I'll barf fried eels at it. I'm not afraid.
Spirit domes. 2 spirits enter, 1 spirit leaves.
I mean, you would technically have the resources required to like fight a ghost and win. But
I'll put it in my chest.
that sounds like a lot. That sounds like big plenty. Do we want? Do we? Okay. So there is a thing that I think is there is an answer that I think is very useful for this crew, and I'm leaning toward it personally. But I want to say, you know what?
Do we want the cops to come after us? Is that maybe?
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to maintain control over this. I was going to give you an opportunity to decide what you thought would be best suitable in this moment, but um delightfully for me, entanglements don't specify whether that's a thing that I can put in control of players. So I'm going to keep that control all to myself.
Dun dun dun.
And that's going to come into play at a moment in the future. Um, as it
Suspense.
stands, as it stands right now, you are still in the Batcave, and the evening is open to you. What would anyone like to do in this moment besides eat?
I
So
think
Crossroads.
go ahead.
So Crossroads turns to Ash, and Ash gets this really disconcerting moment of the beak opening and like this whole bag of fried eels kind of tipping forward as Crossroads says, "I was a priest."
Skelly grabs the bag out of Crossroads' mouth and is like, "Nah, Ash was making it up, right? Right."
Yes, I really hope one of you was paying attention because I think I might have gone into a fugue state during that. But Crossroads, I do not know anything about your past life. When Hunger said that he expected me to drop something off, I realized that that something was you. At that point, my priority was to make sure we still left the building with you. And that meant that I was going to say whatever I had to get you out of there safely. And the rest of us, because we were pretty well outnumbered.
But I thought
I'm sorry.
But it felt like it was very true, and
well, that's very flattering. I'm glad you thought so, and I think it might be smart for you to keep this backstory in your pocket in case anyone else starts asking you about yourself. Crossroads, what do you know about Severosi temples?
Nothing. I wasn't Severosi?
I don't know. I really, truly do not know. But what you should know for this to work is that most Severosi travel in groups, but priests don't. See, people usually become priests after they've been really sick. Sometimes someone gets really sick, they get a really bad fever or something, and then the god appears to them. And if that god appears to you, then you leave your family or your traveling group, and you become a caretaker of that god's temples. And that means that you travel the land alone, going between all the temples. You might run into people, you might share a meal with them, but for the most part, priests live alone as they travel between temples to deal with upkeep and maintenance and making offerings. So that means that if you keep telling people you are of the sky the gloaming and that you're a priest of the imperishable wing, they're probably going to believe you just because it's so hard to know who's a priest.
Well,
it's a good lie.
I did get very sick.
And if there's
interesting,
I died.
Ash, is there paperwork we can forge or procure and alter to get anything for them, or any other symbols that would help sell that story?
I have some religious tokens in the shop that we can put on Crossroads, but we don't really value registries in Severus, you know. we're not paperwork people. It's not like all this accuracy bureaucratic bullshit, everything stamped in triplicate, signed in blue ink.
Papers suck.
It does make forgery a bit easier. 3 copies becomes 4 copies pretty easy.
Yeah, but no copies makes it so much easier to just walk through the world being whoever you want to be.
Okay.
And now, Crossroads, I'm sorry that I had to lie. I'm sorry I got your hopes up.
Oh.
But as far as I know, there is no priest called of the Sky the Gloaming. So this is an identity that you can put on when you want it, if you want it.
Oh, okay. Is that my whole name then? Do I say that whole phrase?
You can use that whole phrase when you're being formal. People will usually just address you as gloaming if they were your family.
Okay.
People would be a little more formal with you by default just because you're a priest.
Oh.
But this is going to buy you a certain amount of respect and of people not questioning you too much.
Oh, I like that. I like it when they don't do that.
I think we've all noticed by this point that you don't like being asked questions, yes.
Oh. Okay.
And Ash reaches out and kind of awkwardly pats Crossroads' arm, like, I am sorry about this. I know you want to find your meat self, but if you have trouble finding your meat self, or someday you find your meat self and you don't like it, you can have another one. Meat's temporary anyway.
I remembered that I was related to meat.
That's how meat happens. All meat is related to other meat.
I really didn't like that idea.
Well, that's why meat can go away and make up a new story for itself.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ash, for making fake meat for me.
How much of the story that Hunger gave you do you think is bullshit?
I don't think he cares much about whatever job he was given. I think it's true that he does want to just ask as few questions as possible and get the money. And I certainly hope that he believed that Crossroads isn't Crossroads.
Right.
But I think we're going to have to tread very carefully.
Who's the Lady of Thorns?
That would be another goddess. Not necessarily a fun one. So I think we've talked a little before about how death is complicated, right?
Yes, says.
Oh, it seems pretty straightforward to me.
The Lady of Thorns is not precisely death all the time. The Lady of Thorns is death adjacent in that the Lady of Thorns tends to be an avatar of mass vengeance.
Is she made of meat?
That really depends on the artist.
I would like anyone who would like to do so to make a role that will be related to what you may have heard or already know about the Lady of Thorns or forgotten gods like her. What would those roles be?
I feel like that's not a thing I would probably know.
Because Crossroads is in a priestly state of mind, it will think priestly things. I guess that would be a study role.
Yes, study would count.
Uh-huh. Okay, so position.
Your position. Your position would be controlled, but your effect would be limited.
Okay, limited. No bonus dice.
No bonus dice.
All right, that's a 1.
A1. You before pursuing this present investigation, you had never or don't recall having ever heard of the Lady of Thorns at all.
Understood.
Is anyone else going to roll?
No, I don't. Unless your intent is to position this god as one that could be commonly known, outside of like having the cultural context for it, then I don't think it makes sense for Ring to roll.
Fair enough. In particular, I think it would be something that Ash may have at least come across. I do think
Ash has heard of the Lady of Thorns. Ash is super uncomfortable talking about the Lady of Thorns because all the stories she knows about the Lady of Thorns involve something like there's a sliding scale between massacre and genocide, and everything falls in that spectrum.
Those are two very particular like ends of that scale. But yes, there may be things that can still be gleaned if you are willing to roll.
Well then, let's say we said that's a study.
Study does indeed work in this instance. I will say that your position is controlled, but your effect is great. Right, yes. I have no idea what my mouth is doing earlier, but yes.
And 4 and 2. 0 dice take the lowest result above, so there's a 2.
In the moment that you try to like think further about the things that you may have like actively read rather than heard about the lady of Thorns, your brain flashes back to like occult carving, like you saw in a book a drawing of a carving that cultists had made into the hull of a ship of like what is one of the more reoccurring images of the Lady of Thorns, even though the Lady of Thorns is physically not in the carving. It's just like bodies strewn across like a field of what looks like wheat. And the mere image of you like flashing back, the mere sense of you flashing back to that image makes you shiver for a bit, and you're kind of frozen in like fear at this moment.
Yeah, all that fried eel isn't sitting well right now.
Yike, I'm sorry.
You gonna eat the rest of that?
Go ahead, Skelly.
Thanks.
Speaking of which, while you're literally doing that, Skelly, because if I'm not mistaken, food is your vice?
Yes.
Since you're literally going to eat in front of everybody, I think it only stands to reason that we give you an opportunity to do the thing, which the thing I refer to in this instance being indulging in your vice.
I feel like, okay, I'll take it, but I think that for the purposes of it being a vice, it is potentially something that I should be looking for something much more expensive, hard to find, and I do have to eat it alone so that I don't have the same level of like panic eating that someone's going to take my food from me. So.
Aha.
Yeah, because in rules as written, indulging vice always includes a vice dealer, and theoretically that there's the risk of overindulgence.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Now
Thank you for
that could be
reminding me.
that could be a tone thing here.
Yeah.
Because other Forge in the Dark games, they change what vice is.
Mhm.
You know, in Rebel Crown, it's seek solace, so it doesn't have that as hard of an edge. So that could be something that we decide together. But in terms of my experience in how Blades Default works, yeah, I agree with Valerie on the risk.
So what I will say is, the thing that had occurred to me in this moment was, Skelly now has 2 bags of heal bites.
Oh yes.
And I like one of these bags is as big as your head, the way that I imagine it. So that is a lot of food. So the
Yes.
line between indulgence and overindulgence to me has always also included the point at which you enjoying this thing at a normal rate has now become
Now it's now I'm stuffing myself past the point of any pleasure in it. Yeah. So
but I'm
can
also
believe that, yes.
I'm also perfectly willing to leave that for a later point if that is a thing that you want to do, because you have the rest of downtime obviously all to yourself.
Yeah. I think we can play it both ways if you want, because I feel like either is very valid. But certainly the full on indulgence of the vice, I think, is that kind of like almost like Hannibal Lecter style. I'm eating this forbidden thing by myself and nobody knows but me.
Okay, and we can definitely wait for that. So thank you. So we can return then to the action that is taking place in the Batcave, which at the moment when Iori is frozen in fear, when Ash is frozen in fear at the observation of more information about the Lady of Thorns, you hear a shuffling in one of the corners of the room.
Crossroads immediately pivots in the direction of its heartbeat picking up sensorium. Is the sound a heartbeat that it hears?
Not a heartbeat that is immediately recognizable to you, but it is a sound that you recognize.
What's the sound?
I want to ask if anybody else notices and wants to roll before we give the obvious clear information that will be given to Crossroads.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'll roll a survey.
Okay. Position. Position standard.
Controlled?
Right, yes, position controlled. Effect is limited.
Okay.
And that goes for anybody else who rolls survey.
3-1. At this point in time, Ash is really just regretting that we got finger food and there are no knives on the table.
So
Crossroads' whole face is a knife. You're okay.
I mean, this is true. So Ash, you hear like this. The sound to you sounds like the pages of any of the large books in this room rapidly being flipped. You can't tell one way or another what this sound is.
Ring would call out, "Who's there? We've got you 4-1. Show yourself."
You do not hear a reply. You just hear more shuffling.
I think Ring will start to circle to the edge of the room to kind of get a different perspective.
Yep, Skelly is definitely on full alert now as well.
Okay. Which means that both of you, I think, definitely give me survey rolls as well.
Controlled limited as well, or?
Your positions are risky. And your effect is limited.
Crossroads. Oh, sorry.
Ash is actually trying to move to put herself in front of Crossroads, and this looks incredibly ridiculous because Ash is about 5 foot nothing.
Oh no, BB!
Skelly just rolled 2 2s.
Kelly just rolled 2 2s.
Dun dun. I like that we're all in a
Nope,
closed
it's
room.
a bunch of fail.
We're all very, very
Wow.
unaware of what's going on and concerned. And
I also got a 2. So our surveys are 3, 1, 2, 2, 2.
Right.
Well, I think
Just
part
as
of
the
the
both of
reason
you
the
move.
team is discombobulated is that we all assumed the grave cave was safe.
this is like a Scooby-Doo gone wrong now.
Absolutely.
If nothing is going to happen, Crossroads is going to, because that moment in the house when Ash was spinning a tale of what felt to be extremely true lies, Crossroads felt like an immense calm throughout all of it attuning in that space. So it's going to attune now to like try and feel if it's a ghost. And one of the features that I have, because I was a whisper prior to being unmeated, is Ghost Mind. So I get plus 1d when I gather info about the supernatural. So may I do that if nothing is immediately about to happen? But that's what Crossroads wants to do right now.
Okay. How do I display all of this information to you at once? So you were going to roll to attune. Your position is controlled. Your effect is great.
Attune, position controlled, effect great, and I get 1 die.
Yes,
because
plus
of the
1
ghost.
die from Ghost Mind.
Okay.
Before you roll,
Okay.
I'm going to let you know that the thing that your sensorium picks up is a bird. Roll.
Oh. Okay. And then I roll. So that's a 6, a 5, a 4, and a 1.
6 is good. So your sensorium, before we get to the attune, your sensorium picks up. You can't tell what kind of bird, but to the sensorium, it looks like a bird that you've seen with your irises at least several times before, but you just like can't make it out right now, and it's like wrestling its way out of a paper bag somewhere in the corner of this room and like tackling books and stuff. But at the moment, between you noticing that, like genuinely being able to determine that it is a bird, and deciding to attune anyway, you briefly kind of fade out of where you are right now, and now you're in what looks like this long, like perfect horizon in all directions, but the floor is glass, perfectly reflective glass. And above you is a very clear sky. In this place, you are very sadly made of meat.
Oh. Is it meat I recognize?
It is meat that you vaguely determined that you recognize. Because you bring your, as you're bringing your hands up to your face to look at them, you notice that your arms have very strangely bird-like features.
Oh. Now, usually when I see human meat, me being Crossroads, I get vaguely distressed. But when I see this particular meat, I do not feel distressed. I feel, this is what meat should be.
Okay.
Those are my feelings right now.
Mm-hmm. As you're looking at your hands, between your hands on the otherwise very clear, reflective surface of ground that you're standing on, it seems now that you're not even looking at like a floor anymore, but you're looking through a window that just so happens to be beneath you.
Oh.
And on the other side of that window, you see a version of the exact same thing that you saw in a vision at Dunslow, but from a perspective that is not yours.
Oh.
You see the exact same fight that you had with Runa, but you are seeing yourself. You seem just as frustrated and irate as Runa is being. Like, you're both like shouting at each other very intensely. Um, Through this other layer, you can't very clearly hear everything that is being said. Um, but you do hear at some point you saying, I just want to help. Why won't you just let me know what's happening? Um, like you hear that very clearly, because at this point you're like screaming. Um, you see Runa kind of like freeze for a moment, and then Runa's demeanor entirely shifts into something like more dark and cruel, and like she's walking up to you and leaning over you, and like you can tell that she's whispering something that would probably be very mean, because she has a look on her face that is very mean, but you can't make out what she says. And from the angle that you're seeing this, you see three men emerge into the graveyard. One pulls out like a small blackjack, a small club from the back pocket of his pants.
Oh no.
Another one pulls out a switchblade, but the third kind of motions for him to put it away, and he puts it away. And they approach Runa from behind, just as you are about to walk away. And then the this mirror ground that you're standing on just kind of gets frosty and fogged up, and then it returns to its reflective state.
Crossroads does not like any of that.
How does Crossroads physically respond to not liking any of that?
You know that thing birds do when they kind of draw their heads back and they get very borby and like fat, just like.
Mm-hmm.
So Crossroads is very tall and lanky, so it tries to borb angrily, but because it's tall and lanky, it just kind of looks like someone put a pancake on top of a Q-tip, and it's just like. Then it hears the bird flap again, and it's like, oh, I should take care of that because it's a bird, and that's my function, to take care of birds.
Okay.
So it goes and searches with its sensorium to find the bird in a paper bag.
Right. As you continue searching, because now in this space you are no longer in the Batcave, but as you decide to activate your sensorium, you can now hear it and see it as if you are still in the Batcave. You just can't perceive the Batcave any other way.
So what's everyone else seeing? Am I there in the Batcave still, or have I faded physically out of the Batcave?
For everyone else, Crossroads has just faded out of existence. As you like focus your sensorium in that direction, you notice what looks like a small flock, maybe 6 or 7 glass birds, hover out of the ground like some feet ahead of you.
Uh-oh.
And they fly towards you and then shift to the left and continue forward and up and away. And as you follow them, another small flock of birds rises up underneath them, comes towards you, and then shifts away. And that continues 4 or 5 times until like 21, 22 birds are now flying above you in a small kind of susurrus of glass. A flash of light hits one of the birds in the air and catches you in the eye.
Crossroads wasn't expecting that. So it dials the light reception down a little bit, much in the way of human eyeballs readjusting to sudden brightness, and tries seeing what the birds are doing in the sky, because it suddenly feels like, oh, I should be paying attention to that, what patterns they are making. Up until this point, it's just been chasing each flock of birds that has been rising up. So if the others could see this, it's just a tall robot running this way, then running the other way, then running another way in no particular coordinated manner.
Mm-hmm. When you readjust your lenses in the way that you're accustomed to as Crossroads, you notice that for a moment nothing happens, and then when you instinctively like when your eyes when the meat eyes of the body that you have in this world now instinctively shut, you suddenly feel a moment of relief from the light. And when you look back up at them, the birds are still flying above you, but they're all looking at you. And then one kind of like slowly drifts down. It's not as if it's flying, it's as if it's just letting the air slowly take it down to you. And says, when you need us. And then before you can hear that sentence finish, you feel what is essentially your body feels like it's slowly lifted off and out of the ground.
Hmm.
And you return to the Batcave by shoving a stack of books leaning up against one of the walls, and knocking it over. To everybody else, this looks like for several seconds, Crossroads was not, for like roughly a minute, Crossroads was not in the room. And then it looked like Crossroads flapped wings and flew out of the concrete at the bottom of the Batcave and re-emerged in the room.
Did Ash see the other bird?
Oh, that bird's still fighting up in the back.
Am I
No one
near
has.
the bag?
What's that?
Am I near the bag?
Nope. Still on the other corner of the. Everyone is now like looking at that corner of the room very suspiciously, but I don't think anyone has approached to the corner yet.
Ash is going to go towards the struggling bag.
Okay.
Crossroads, after it reorients itself, is very confused, but the primary goal is to take care of the bird, so it just clicks on over and dashes towards that bag, as guided by its sensorium.
Mm-hmm. When you see Ash take the bag off the bird, you notice that it is a Death Seeker crow.
Oh.
At this point, Ash just locks her hands and she starts praying.
Ren will lean over to Skelly and say, "We're dead. And this, like, we're in some kind of hell, right? This is the most preposterous thing. Maybe I died in the war and this is all just like, I don't know."
Skelly quietly puts away a knife that she had not been holding prior to this situation occurring.
Definitely. As Ash is praying, the crow will just like peck you on the hand and then fly over to Crossroads' shoulder.
Crossroads is very happy and immediately searches in its pockets for bird feeding things and then realizes that this is not, in fact, its coat because its coat got vaporized when it vaporized the cot. So all those delicious granola, raw meat mixed things are gone. It's very sad now.
Skelly's
So-
like, I have some bits.
Ash is
Oh.
praying even harder now because she does not know if the crow going to Crossroads means that the imperishable wing approves of the lie or not.
Right.
She's extremely flipped out because like she is much more religious than she tries to pretend she is. Because part of the whole pretending she's diaspora is I'm not that religious. That's just something my grandparents do. No, she doesn't. She definitely doesn't. And right now she is having a little bit of a crisis.
Crossroads says thank you and accepts the offered bits and proceeds to feed the crow and then remembers what it saw and says, Runa was very mean.
So
To who?
To me,
Really?
when I died, she was just very neat and very horrible.
So the bird, the Death Seeker crow, shakes its head at the offer of eel bites.
It's like the. Have you ever seen like the leftover batter, like the fried
Mhm.
batter?
Mhm. Yeah, it's like visibly shakes its head. And then it flaps twice, nods to you. And in this moment, Crossroads, you are driven, you are like immediately stricken with the urge to say something to Ash that would have otherwise never occurred to you at any other point.
Oh,
And it kind of like washes over you kind of suddenly in a way that it feels like those words are coming out of you instead of you actually saying it. But
oh my
as
god, I'm
you're
being possessed.
but as you're experiencing it, it looks to you as if the bird is saying it instead, but it's actually coming out of your mouth. And Ash, you see Crossroads turn to you and say, uh, there are birds from the Taikarosi too. Not so much tricksy, but they say things. And then Crossroads, you see the bird shrug. And to you it's like, I guess that works, and then it flies away up through the hole.
Ash
Crossroads
is
look
so
at
deeply alarmed that a bird has talked to her. Like she looks around the room and goes, "Did anyone else hear that? Did anyone else hear that?"
I mean, to clarify, to you, Ash, it looks like Crossroads said that to you. To Crossroads, it looks like the bird said it.
And was it audible in general, or was it like
Yeah.
telepathic? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crossroads? What was that?
So-
Did you remember something?
Oh no, the bird said it.
The bird said it. Great. Cool.
The bird said it. Not me. I'm not a bird because I'm not meat. The bird that is meat said it.
Skelly
Did
Skelly
you-
takes the bits back and tips half of them into her mouth. Just
Did you go somewhere just now before the bird went on your shoulder?
Oh, yes. I went to a place where the ground was glass and the sky was bright and I was made of meat but it was good meat. And under the glass, I saw Runa being very mean when I died. Also, I saw Brandon raise his hand. Was the sky not bright?
Oh, no. All of these things, I'm just like marveling in this experience. Don't mind me.
Okay.
Have you been
And-
there before?
Had I been there before? Question mark.
That is what Ring asked.
Yes, I'm asking the DM if I had in fact
I'm sorry.
been in
In
such
this,
a place before.
in this
Yeah.
glass space.
Mm-hmm.
You get the feeling in hindsight that all of the visions that you had of smoke were in this place but covered in smoke.
I've seen the place before when I was panicking. Ghost stuff.
Okay. I don't understand any of that. I'm very sorry. I wish I could help you more.
Ash is still kind of processing, like she's still issuing this general Severosi prayer, which is just sort of like an I come in peace, please let's just be chill to any genius loci, any spirits in the surrounding area as she thinks things through. And then she looks up at Crossroads and goes, were you Taikarosi when you were me?
Crossroads ponders and thinks about the vision it just had and says, I had bird-like meat when I was meat.
Ash
Maybe
is
then?
stuck on the idea of bird-like meat. She's going to be stuck there for a while, I think.
Crossroads kind of wiggles its hands in demonstration.
So we're still being hunted. We still don't know for sure what's happening with the seal. We've heard that there are cults involved. I've now learned about ancient death goddesses that might not have been terribly happy when how death works broke. The stories I grew up with said that the undying emperor saved what was left of humanity and was therefore to be the ruler of everything. And he's a shit ruler. If you're listening, you're a shit ruler. Come get me. I have enough trouble.
You hear thunder roll in your background.
Great. Just great. We did a job. We're getting to be known, even if it's under names we don't own, that we've made up. So we're basically a crew at this point. And if we're going to operate as a crew, we probably need a name. We could be silly, we could be cheeky, and be the bereaved. Because we met at the funeral. And because the shadow of Runa's life and death seems to be hanging over us like a guillotine.
But if we met at a funeral, shouldn't we just, maybe we should say funeral friends?
It's not
Because-
very intimidating.
Often chums.
Okay.
Ash is just laughing because, like, she does like the modern conveniences of accuracy life. She likes living in one place. That's why she's here. But she thinks this whole accuracy fixation on names, real names, having a legal name, having paperwork, etc., is just ridiculous. So she's kind of like, if you feel we need a name, I suppose we can have one for now. We'll probably need to change it down the line anyway if we get in too much trouble. So don't pick one you're attached to.
Yeah, this is just so that we can operate as a group. We can be known as a group. to the people we need to be known as, and not just for random people caught up in something impossible.
What about Ring's friends?
That's very nice. Thank you.
We're
I think
friends.
I am honored that you say that and appreciate it. It's been a very strange time.
Strange friends.
Strange Friends is not a bad crew name.
Okay. That's what I'll use then. If people ask me who I am.
So we'll need to figure out what to do next. But first, I need to go not here and spend a good deal of time not thinking about how ludicrous all of this is. And if any of the rest of you are as spun up and exhausted as I am, you might want to do so as well. So what I will suggest is that we take a day, maybe two, probably not longer, and then meet back here maybe last bell before midnight tomorrow or the night after. What do you all say to that?
I could stand a bath in my own tub and a sleep in my own bed.
You have a tub?
That's the entire point of living in the city. I mean,
That's a good point.
you know,
I-
there are lots of things that are weird about Duskwall, but the plumbing has been a real plus.
As a person who has no indoor plumbing in her apartment, Skelly is intrigued by this concept.
But Skelly, if you're available, it might be good to meet up sometime tomorrow, because I have a bad idea that I think you'll like.
Skelly, in the most profound show of friendship that she can, offers you the bag.
I think Ring will offer their own bag to basically trade the little bits, and
Crossroads
then toasts with it.
Crossroads reaches into its chest and pulls out the stomach sack that has the glass that it ate at the Severosi house and gets in on this friendship time. Clink, clink.
Okay. These two bags of eel bites collide with a damp bag full of glass.
And Ash looks at Crossroads and goes, "You don't have a place to go back to, do you? Do you want to come with me? I don't like the idea of leaving you here all alone."
Crossroads suddenly feels this big blooming warmth and says with a little bit more speed and more spontaneity than it has shown thus far, "That's because we're friends." That's very nice. I like being your friend. Pats Ash's head.
Ash is again reminded of the drastic height difference and feels a little awkward, but she says, "And while we're back at the shop, maybe we can find another coat that actually fits you."
Yeah, is Crossroads wearing my coat or?
Yeah, I think it's still Skelly's coat.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
something from the doctor's.
I was just saying, yeah,
like-
did we harvest it from somewhere? Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think that's what it was. It was the doctor's coat. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to return it at some point, right?
Yeah, acquire asset, a coat.
Can very
Although-
well happen.
Although I guess if I was very sneaky, I could go back to Runa's place and find the things I had when I was meat.
You're not
But
very
you-
sneaky. Don't do that by yourself.
Oh, okay.
But if you know where Runa lived, we should absolutely go.
I know where Runa lived. I've been there.
All right. I'm going to ask around a bit.
Wait,
Well,
did you get a dinner invite from Runa, Skelly? I knew
Nah.
that woman 3 years and she never once invited me over.
Oh no. After Runa died, I cooked food for Skelly in Runa's apartment.
Skelly
Ash just
gestures.
processes for a moment. Like, okay then.
good night.
Okay. And with that, Ring is already off for their own business.
Ring's ability to even just like ended like a half an hour of world time ago.
Mhm.
And they are at 6 of their maximum of 9 stress. So
So it's Vice time, I imagine.
yeah.
Right. So I will say at this point that if everyone is going to pot, then everyone is given the opportunity to indulge in their vice as well. So I will just open up Ring's sheet to make sure that their vice is obligation.
Yep. And I see this as that the thing that lets them chill out is being of service to their community. So it is like it's being the kind of neighborhood problem solver helper person. And it probably in this case also involves checking in with their the group of porters that they work with, because they've been in and out a lot and they need to make sure to be doing their job. But fortunately, their job is the kind of thing that will still work. I think mechanically it makes sense to have some of the obligation role be about general neighborhood stuff, but I'd like to make sure that it includes the job thing because it follows from the fiction that we've already established. Their vice purveyor is Dern Kinlow, who's a quartermaster or merchant. So my pitch for this would be a montage of Ring waking up in the morning, like flashing back to ridiculous things, like trying to scrub it out of their mind, like by splashing water on their head, and then just like going and doing chores and errands for a whole day.
Okay. I see. So so at this moment you're like by yourself before you actually like meet anybody. Hmm. So I'm gonna say then that there is a knock on your door, like while you're still like moving things, like still busy in your own brain. I'm gonna say that like someone has been knocking on the door for like a few minutes solid, and you hadn't noticed yet because you were still like tidying up and stuff, and then you finally hear the noise at the door.
So I think they walk from kind of the back room. They typically have like 2 rooms, and grab a knife off the kitchen counter and hold it behind their back while they answer the door. Because this is Duskwall after all.
I mean, yes. And you on the other side of the door, you see a maybe like 17, 18-year-old young man, clothes kind of ratty but perfectly clean, and he's like smiling at you and he says, "Good morning."
Good morning. What can I do for you?
You're Dalmore, I think they said, right?
Yeah.
We
Are you looking for August? He works 3 blocks down.
No, I'm looking for you actually. Some older gentleman in the area asked very nicely to let you know. Maybe you should come see him. Something about hadn't seen you in days, and some of the other folks were tied up in some kind of mess. I don't know what the deal was. I was just given 5 pieces of copper to just knock on your door and tell you that what was his name? Dern?
Dern.
Right. Dern gave me 5 pieces of copper to just knock on your door. Maybe you should like check on him more often. Apparently things are afoot southwest of here. I don't know what the deal is, and he didn't want me to know.
That's fair. I'm glad he paid you for your time. Sometimes I need people to run messages for me as well. Can I get your name?
Eret.
Eret, I'm Ring. Thank you for coming to see me.
Not a problem. He made it sound kind of urgent, so I don't know if there's something warm on your stove right now, but you may want to see the old man as soon as possible. As for me, I'm probably gonna get however many drops of liquor 5 pieces of copper can pay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I'll do you one better. Use that to eat, and then come back to see me tonight, and I'll get you something much nicer.
Duly noted, neighbor. Thanks. Yeah, I'll see you around then, I guess. And he strolls off down the street.
Cool. I will put on the rest of an outfit and go to see Dern.
Okay, where do you usually meet Dern?
I think Dern probably has a few locations that he operates out of, and the one that's close is kind of like a collapsed third floor of a mixed use like warehouse office building.
Okay.
And I think it's got a view, but you can throw a tarp over it, so it's easier for it to kind of be shady. And I like the idea that Dern is kind of in the varying shades of gray market kind of space. Like he'll move normal, legit material, but not just that.
Okay. Right. So what I'm gonna say is that when you get to this place, and I mean these are things that you already know about this space, but the ground floor is actually a soup kitchen. That Dern doesn't operate, like everything in this building kind of takes place in its own kind of weird kind of symbiosis. I mean everything is serving the community in its own way or form. And when you get to the building, Dern is actually ladling soup for some of the neighbors in the area as he's waiting for you. And when he sees you, he's like, you're finally here. And literally like hands a wet soup ladle to someone straight right beside them, and gestures for you to join him in a walk upstairs.
Yeah, I think on the way there, Ring probably was greeted by a couple of other people and had to pull themselves away to go and speak to Dern, just as a little bit of flavor to establish Ring's connection in the neighborhood. But Ring would then follow up.
Yeah. So you're both taking the staircase, and Dern opens the walking conversation by going, it's been a matter of days and I haven't really seen or heard from you at all in quite some time. Where have you been?
Helping a friend with some business.
If you keep helping friends with business, you're going to be unavailable when you need to help friends for business. Do you know that?
Yeah. I got to the end of yesterday and was so out of sorts that waking up and coming and doing something normal was all that I could hope for in the world.
Normal is quite a tall ask on this continent, but
Normal for Duskwall. I will run a message. I will pick up hot goods. I will pick up other hot goods that are temperature hot, as opposed to the other kind of hot, because we do both of that. Just tell me what's up. Tell me how I can help.
Okay, so a couple of the boys that I've been sending out on some errands still need to learn the ropes, I guess. They've been taught how to move, but they still need to learn how to fight. I figured you were the best person for that in particular. Apparently, one of my youngest decided to take something a little bit bigger than his jaw could close on, and got messed up in Brightstone so badly we had to essentially scrape him off the sidewalk. He's doing better now, but I need someone to make sure the other new kids his age can handle themselves in a scrap. That's all you're here for. Just give them a few hours of some basic training, whatever it is you did on your very first day in this godforsaken war. I'll put a couple pieces of gold to your name, and then you can go back to whatever strange business you're up to, so long as you don't be a stranger. What say you?
I can do that, and I'll try to check in more often. I may have some orders to place as well.
Might I ask for what?
Hard to say yet. Got some folks making moves in the shadows, and a lot of it's over my head, and mostly I just want to get it to the point where this friend is off of somebody's shit list. You can't breathe in this town sometimes without raising somebody's hackles, right?
This much we know is true. And as he says that, you finally get to the third floor. You finally step off that final staircase into the third floor. And ahead of you waiting is already 8 teenagers standing at attention. And you can see on the wall to your furthest right, there is like a small bed, and lying on it is another young man who has obviously been beaten very badly. Bandages over his head, bandages over his eye, casts on makeshift casts on both of his arms and one leg. And the minute that they see you walk into this space, all of the young men salute, which is like not you know that this is not standard procedure for these porters in particular, but it's standard procedure with you because they have
Right.
an inordinate amount of respect for you. Some of these kids are kind of doing it as a joke, but it's just kind of like passed on in the space that they treat you like this on a regular basis.
I don't know that it's come up, but the alias I gave for Ring is Sergeant, which is probably how a lot of them know of Ring or speak of Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ring will kind of nod to them and kind of check in with Dern, like, which ones do I take?
All of them. The whole lot of 8. Or whichever ones you think are most promising, and then we'll just move the other ones to some softer beats, I guess. But at the end of the day, I need as many of my kids to not be able to not get their teeth kicked out.
Okay.
So
Yep. So I think Ring will kind of their body language straightens just a little bit, but a small bit of body language changing and a little bit of their voice tone, I think, it probably speaks very loudly to the youth, and say, all right, a lot of you, you're going to come out with me. We're going to go 2 blocks down, three stories up the roof with 3 blocked walls. I need, on the way, 2 of you to get bandages, 2 of you to draw water, 2 of you to grab sticks about this long, and the rest, roll your legs up, roll your pants up. And then they will spend several hours of the day teaching all of them how to talk to each other, how to talk to each other, and how to take a fall. And then if they have if any of them have any promise in terms of how they move, teach them how to get around the most common kind of back alley knife swings. So how to not die to this, and this. Ring has prowl, skirmish, and command. So I think we see in this montage that they're very comfortable doing this. And maybe probably depending on how the indulge vice roll goes, we may see them more chill at the end of the day.
Okay, cool. So like there's this montage of you training these kids. I imagine that a lot of it is also some like unarmed close quarters stuff as well. You like get a sense of who's better and worse at these kinds of things, but everybody's talent kind of improves throughout the exercise.
Yeah, and I think probably
no,
to fill out the montage, probably a bit that we get that we hear is, you can't continue fighting if you're dead. So defense is the first thing you need to do. And if you defend right, you can hold somebody up while the buddy to your right lands the blow that you need to. And I don't think Ring can actually get into all of this that quickly, but wants to convey first and foremost that being able to stay alive and to stay unhurt is the best first step of a fight.
Cool.
And now I can roll indulge vice.
You can.
Cool. So I do that. I got a 5 and a 2, so I will mark off 5 stress of my 6 stress, which is very good. So I think what we get from this is the viewer got a sense that Ring was comfortable doing this, and when it's all done and kind of they're sitting around having kind of brought in food for the group, Ring is kind of chatting with the youth, and seems very happy, and is basically like, I as a player would love to kind of basically develop toward the point where maybe this cluster would get recruited as a cohort at some point, because I like the idea of keeping an eye on them, and that Ring's training style is very supportive, but not letting people off on things. Like, nope, that didn't work. Instead of like, he's not babying them, but he's not being cruel. Or they're not being babying or cruel to these folks, and that's that. That was very cool. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm actually really I really like giving you that scene for that in particular. So I'm just gonna say that closes with Dern just kind of patting you in the back and saying, um, I mean, these kids are as much yours as they are mine. So whenever you feel the need to pass by and check on them, I'd really appreciate it. Um, I think they would too.
And if you don't see them doing this, make sure that when they come back through and they check on the hurt one here, that they talk about what they've learned.
Yeah, definitely. And he tosses you like a fistful. He puts a fistful of gold coins in your hands. Like, you don't work this street anymore, but work's work. And I'll say that that's the end of this scene.
That's great. Thank you.
Cool. So for the rest of downtime, I would like to know either what's happening with Skelly or what's happening with Ash and Crossroads. Who would like to do a thing? Because I know that Skelly needs to eat. Well, needs to eat more and better.
Skelly first, I think, because
Yeah,
food's
Skelly first.
important.
Hmm.
Skelly will
Um,
starve to death if we don't do Skelly first.
Well, Skelly's full. Skelly gets home and Skelly splits the rest of her ill-gotten eel gains with her cat. And at that point, so Skelly does have to get back to Ring to liaise with them about the idea they had of what to do. But it's also possible that they have a very particular person they go to indulge their food vice.
I was actually thinking about that. There is, so I'm going to give you two options, and you're going to tell me which one makes the most sense to you.
Mhm.
Either there is a place where you spend all of your money to get to be placed in a dark room to just eat good food by yourself,
Mhm.
or Melvir cooks for you.
Ooh. I feel like if he cooks for me, I would take it back to my room, lock the door, like close the blinds, and it still is very much kind of like I kick the cat out. Like it's a private meditative experience, or possibly I even like take it to the top of a building that nobody else can climb except me, and eat it there while watching the city. So I kind of that one actually appeals to me. We're gonna go with that one.
I love the rooftop idea.
Yeah, alfresco
Okay.
dining.
That obviously means then that when you get home,
Mhm.
there is already food waiting for you. Like, Melvir had, like, when you enter the dining, like the communal dining space where most people are already asleep at this point, um Melvir has just taken off his apron,
Mhm.
and on the dining table is like it from like the initial moment of you entering this room, it could look to the uh unexperienced guest as just um like a plate of spaghetti. But
Mhm.
because you've eaten food from Melvir before, you know that whatever you're about to experience on this plate right now is something that he has literally never cooked for you before, and you have never had anywhere else. Um, and as you close the door, he literally turns around and goes, "Jesus, uh, what? Where were you all this time? Like, I
Busy.
had I had enough time to change my mind 3 times about what I was going to cook for you because you got here this late. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
That's not an okay response. Sit down.
Skelly sits, but in kind of like the way of like a child who has been told that she's naughty and is just kind of like sullenly like, fine.
This is what I want. Because so like he pours you a tall glass of red wine, places it beside the plate, but the knife and fork are still right next to the plate, and as soon as he places the glass down, he takes the knife and the fork and sits on the opposite end of the dining table. What's the deal with your friends?
They're my friends.
One of them is a hull,
Yep.
who's a hull that is so incapable of managing its own electroplasm that it can perfectly fine just zap strangers. Like, what are you working on right now?
Stuff.
So you're not going to tell me anything. You can die if you want to, but this is my house too. When you bring guests into my home and they're zapping me by accident and talking about cursed cult objects behind my back, I feel like I'm at least mildly entitled to be worried about you.
It'll be fine.
That's what you said the last time. Do you remember what happened the last time? One of your friends is permanently missing a limb.
He has to.
That's not how that...
I said I was sorry.
But it wasn't your fault. That's the thing. It's this place's fault. It's this world's fault. It's this life's fault. You are not responsible for other people and their bullshit. And I worry that when you think that you are, that's when the things happen. You've done a lot. You've done a lot for me. You've done a lot for this building. And sometimes I feel like you think you have to and you don't. Sometimes you just get to come back and go to sleep,
Yeah, Skelly does not remember the last time that she slept in her room at this point.
You haven't slept in this room a full 8 hours in weeks prior to this taking place.
I do sleep.
You do, in bursts and never at home. He tosses the knife and fork at you, like idly. Just leave it in the sink and I'll wash it later. Do me a favor and don't die. That's all.
I can't die. That's what I got you for.
One of these days I'm gonna run out of bandages because of you, And like, as he's walking past you, he just like pats you on the top of the head. Good night. And he goes to his room and goes to sleep.
I definitely stuff all the food in a bag and take it to a rooftop far away.
Oh my god, this is like, can't you just travel with the plate?
No,
like,
she's messed up now. He's made her upset.
wow. So you and this incredibly...
No, I know, this is very stupid, yes.
This incredibly soggy paper bag.
Yep.
You take it up to the roof of the building so you can get a view of...
It's not even this building,
your...
it's a different building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sigh.
Yep. She like Spider-Man's up to the top of a roof elsewhere.
So I imagine that this is you like like grabbing spaghetti with your hands and eating it on the roof of this building.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is the best meal that you've ever had, and part of you regrets not just eating it on a plate.
Yep. I wonder if the roll will reflect that.
Well, I mean, it is statistically possible for you to.
I rolled a 4. All right.
You are very lucky. You have cleared all of your stress. If it were simply a 5, you would have been in some problems. But all of your stress is clear.
She feels
Um,
cleansed. Her pores are clean, despite the lack of a bath.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, she will potentially just go home and sleep, as has been requested of her. And then the next day, I guess she would go to Ring, so that we can fade to other players now.
Mm-hmm. So, last but not least, Ash and Crossroads. Where are you right now?
I think Ash is heading back in the direction of the antique store. Is Crossroads following?
Yes, because they're friends now.
Okay, just to make sure, who has stress/strain?
You know, it's really weird. Ash hasn't taken stress yet.
Yeah,
Because we haven't done any of the lurk things that would cause stress.
this is indeed true. That will change very rapidly.
Well, she's under a bunch of emotional stress and religious crisis stress that isn't reflected in the character mechanics. So,
Yeah.
like, she's definitely on an emotional level deeply anxious right now.
I believe this.
But not in a way that, like, has points attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, you arrive at the antique store to see that the front light is still on and one of the outer windows is broken.
Well, that's extremely weird because Ash hadn't even opened the shop up yet when they left for that last mission that we were just on.
Mm-hmm.
Ash's going to go ahead and try the door. Is the door unlocked?
The door is unlocked.
Crossroads has its sensorium going to hear if somebody is inside the shop.
You can feel the faint heartbeat of someone who is lying on the floor right in front of the door. Ash, when you open the door, Root has taken a brick to the forehead.
Ash is momentarily confused because what's Root even doing here? Oh my god, she got him to a safe house. Did this idiot actually come back against all her good advice? Do people not listen to her anymore?
Crossroads says highly unnecessarily somebody is on the floor in front of the door.
And Ash is just dropping to her knees, praying out loud, trying to take Root's pulse from their neck.
Still has a pulse. But Root is definitely unconscious, and you get the impression by the amount of blood that is on the floor that this happened at least several hours ago.
Crossroads says very unhelpfully, the heart is beating. I can hear it.
Also, you notice that the brick has a piece of paper taped to it.
There's a piece of paper on the brick.
And Ash is still busy examining Root's wounds, so she just goes, "Read it to me, please."
I'm reading it now.
One of the wounds is on the head, and Ash knows from experience, even if that's not a bad wound, it's gonna just bleed a lot. So she's slightly reassured that maybe it's not actually quite as bad as it looks. Still bad, but
Crossroads picks up the piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. The piece of paper has in large bold letters written across it. Why don't you listen? Question mark, question mark. You have 12 hours.
It says in large bold letters, why don't you listen? Question mark, question mark. You have 12 hours. I guess we should tell Root that.
Ash, like, takes a second to process that. And then she says, I didn't think my mother was an arsonist. And fairly assured that Root is not dead yet, she grabs a fireplace poker off a set near the door that she's been trying to sell for the last 2 years, and no one wants this stupid fireplace set. It's got like the poker, the broom, the shovel, the andirons, and they're all ugly as sin. They're brass, they're dragons. The dragons are weirdly cross-eyed. No one will buy these things, but she's been trying. But she takes up the poker and she starts going deeper into the store to see if whoever messed with her employee is still around.
Give me a study.
Ooh.
Your position is, because of your emotional state in particular, your position is desperate.
Yes. And my effect?
And your effect is standard.
Okay. No bonus?
No bonus dice.
So since that's a 0 dice, it will be a 3.
You do not get an impression that anyone else is still here, or even that anyone entered the building after they assaulted Root. Which kind of like gives you the idea that that brick was thrown through the window at him.
Ash is mildly impressed because hitting someone who's been moving around the shop through a window with a brick, you do need fairly decent aim to do that.
Yeah, this is true. Okay, what is there anything else that anyone would like to do?
Crossroads has its sensorium aimed at the back of the shop and then kind of swivels it up to just kind of make sure there is nothing that creates sound, living sound around, at least besides Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't pick up anything in this space. Just the three of you.
Crossroads then enters the shop and closes the door behind it and waits for Root to wake up so it can tell him he has 12 hours.
Duly noted. Is an attempt being made to patch up Root's wounds? Well, wound.
Nope. Because
I mean, it's been a few hours. Surely to God it's clotted by now.
I mean, fair enough, but like there is still the matter of the blood that has already existed and the prevention of any infection, etc.
Crossroads only ever remembers standing over Runa's body, which was already dead, and it doesn't remember ever doing anything to the body after that. So it's like, cool, my work here is done.
Okay.
Ash can't do anything to stanch the bleeding without certain herbs, which are also in the back of the shop. So she is going to have to keep going if she's going to get anything with which she can help Root.
Okay. So I will say then that it just takes you a couple of moments to gather all the things that you need. When you return to Root's body, give me a 2-die fortune roll.
And I would like to note that on the way, while she's collecting the various herbs she needs, Ash does glance over at the shelf just to make sure that the curse jar is still there and intact and everything.
It is.
I can't find the fortune roll on my character sheet.
Roll fortune. Roll fortune is beneath all of your action
found
rolls.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's below Shady Friends. That threw me. 1, 2. You said 2 die, right?
Yes, 2 dice.
Six and 1.
Okay, a 6 is good. You have reason to believe that your treatment of these wounds is more than adequate. And in the process of doing so, Root vaguely stirs awake. He looks you very dimly in the eye and goes, Ash?
You have 12 hours.
And Ash is applying yarrow, and she's got some arnica that's kind of been pounded a little, and she shoves a wad of that into Root's mouth, and she's like, chew that. Calm down. Are you okay?
Guys, ow. It hurts to think right now.
Okay. It's okay if you don't think. Guys is not exactly information that I can go on anyway. Take your time.
They said you had something for them. That was the last word I heard before I blacked out. They said something about ow, ow, ow. I get the impression they'll be back. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know you told me to ow, ow, ow. I know you told me to stay by your friends,
You
but
didn't need to open the shop today. We don't need the money. It's not worth it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's try to get you home. We'll get you back to Mist's place. And the shop is closed for the next few days. How about that? You just take some time off.
Okay. And I take it at this point that we're headed to Mist's house again.
I mean, first, poor Ash is going to need to figure out how she's going to jury rig some kind of stretcher, and then also call a taxi because she does not want to carry a stretcher through the streets, which would be the most conspicuous thing ever.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say that at this hour it's still perfectly possible to potentially get a carriage some corners away
Crossroads
from
would offer to carry the meat.
That can happen as well.
And Ash says to Crossroads, I'm going to get a cab. I want you to go through the clothing racks and find a coat that fits you, that you don't hate, preferably. But fitting you is actually the most important part. So even if it's ugly, just go with it, please.
Okay. Crossroads goes to the back and immediately begins looking for things that look like what Ash would wear.
Okay.
Does anything look ashy?
Right. So I'm gonna say you find. I mean, the coat that you find is your size. Somewhere in the darkish maroon color range. Um, very fuzzy color. Um, uh, you check its pockets very idly, and you find a notepad, a very fancy pen, and 4 gold pieces.
Oh, is there anything on the notepad?
The notepad is blank.
Oh. Crossroads puts on this coat, gets the boots and the gloves, and looks at itself in the mirror and decides that looks like Ash. Yep, that looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And takes out the notepad and takes the pen and writes in it very laboriously, ring, and also Skelly, and is pleased and puts that in its pocket with the pen and then comes back out. Hello.
Okay.
So Ash is running into a little bit of difficulty in that she doesn't entirely know if you can tourniquet a head wound successfully, but she's grabbed a scarf that wasn't terribly expensive and kind of wrapped it over Root's head. And she grabs the first hat she can reach off a rack and tosses it to Crossroads. It's a ridiculous hat, like objectively ridiculous. One of those sort of pillboxy things that's got a veil coming off it. And she goes, just go with it. And by this point, the cab is waiting outside.
Crossroads looks at this hat, thinks about it, and then announces to nobody because Ash has already buggered off to put Root in the cab, announces, this looks like something Ring would wear, and puts it on.
Okay.
You can always give it to them later.
For those of you listening at home on the podcast versions, my heart goes out to you for all of the facial expressions that you have missed this episode. So I implore you to go and watch the video. We are all dying. It's wonderful. Sorry
Indeed
for the
it is.
interruption.
This is gold.
Oh,
But
my high school drama teacher would be furious with me for how many times I've just corpsed during this episode. My GPA is retroactively sinking.
oh wow. Okay. And with that, I'm going to say that as you all take this carriage back to Mist's home to potentially deal with Root, we will fade out of tonight's session of the Case of the Cindered Seal, so we can pick up where the briefest hint of your new entanglement is about to pop up. You're going to discover more about why you got that window smashed in at some point very soon. But for now, I'm just going to ask everyone to. In fact, before we even do that, I'm going to ask everybody how we feel about tonight's session.
I'm gonna say that as we end, Crossroads looked over from the window of the carriage over at Ash and said, "Ash," and then parted the veil. Now I'm Skelly. Puts it back. I'm Ring now. That's how Crossroads feels, and I feel beautiful.
Nice, duly noted. I'm glad that you could have this experience. Yes.
This is the most wonderful chaos energy group.
Yeah.
Ash
It's fun.
feels tremendously frustrated because, oh God, no one was even supposed to be in the shop today. We were supposed to be closed. She fully understands that this 12-hour time limit thing is about her obtaining and delivering Crossroads, which is something she is 110% opposed to doing. Look at Crossroads. You can't just turn it over to someone. Crossroads has needs. Crossroads is people, as far as Ash is concerned.
Crossroads is made of meat,
So
like people. Just like
Made
he's
people.
got
of
this
meat.
mixture
As
of
far as
bread.
everyone else outside of this group is concerned, Crossroads is totally made of meat.
Mm-hmm.
Ash has found that she doesn't care that Crossroads isn't meat now because its meat quotient is irrelevant to its personhood. So
Fair
she's
enough.
feeling a lot of dread right now, but she's also really, really indignant that someone is trying to claim Crossroads as if it's property, when Crossroads is very clearly people.
I don't think Crossroads has really internalized the fact that somebody is trying to get it. It's just mostly concerned with the fact that it has friends now, and you have friends by being like your friends. So that's why it's getting all of its meat garnishes to look like its friends. So it dresses now like Ash, and it's very tall like Skelly, and it has long fluffy things coming off of its head like Ring, and it has a notebook with papers in it, which Ring likes. So it's like Ring that way also.
Mm-hmm.
And it wrote words on that paper because Ring is smart and writes things. So
Okay.
it's doing a good job of being a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Crossroads lives a very simple life.
It would seem so, yes. So, with that, I think that this is a very good place for us to end again with introductions, where we can tell everybody what we're working on, where they can find us, starting with Mike.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. You can find me at michaelrunderwood.com. My latest book is Annihilation Aria, which is a fun found family space opera. And I want to say thank you again to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters at patreon.com/speculate.
Okay. Next, Valerie.
I am Valerie Valdes. You can find me at valerievaldes.com, which is also candleandsunshine.com. And I'm on Twitter at Valerie Valdes. And that is with an S for listeners so that you don't accidentally find another Valerie Valdes somewhere.
Next, Jeoi.
I'm Yoi Gawain Lin, a game writer who is continuing to be made out of meat. You can find me at This Is My Dasein, DASEIN, on Twitter.
And last but not least, our birthday gremlin, I think was the words that we used. Iori.
Iori Kusano, Clarion West class of 2017. You can find me at Iori Kusano on Twitter or kusanoiori.com. There is no L in my name. There is no one named Lori Kusano. And if there is such a person, she is getting credit for all my work. And how dare she, honestly?
Duly noted. And I am Brandon O'Brien, a poet, writer, and a game designer from Trinidad and Tobago. You can find me almost everywhere on the internet at The Rising Tides. That's Tithes. Um, this game, The Case of the Cindered Seal, is played with a Blades in the Dark crew sheet of my design, the Fugitives crew sheet, which you can find on my itch.io page, therisingtides.itch.io, among many other really interesting things that I have designed or written as well. And yeah, I think that's everything that I need to say at this moment. Of course, you will see me again on this channel in 1 week's time for another session of Sound Clash, the Clampdown. And it's also worth noting that on the 22nd of November, we will be doing a fundraiser event for Sound Clash that I think would be really, really dope. Many of our friends will be gathering and playing neat games and talking about game design and playing and music with us. So I think it'd be really cool if you passed through and joined us for that. Until that next point, though, we should probably re-summon our friend Greg.
Greg.
Yes, I was waiting to be summoned. I was actually furiously looking up the font. I'll have you all know that Harrington Regular has that as a capital I. I know exactly what Iori's name looks like. It is not Lori.
Okay.
It is Iori. I know exactly what it is. Blame Harrington Regular, those rat bastards. This was a lot of fun, and of course, I would certainly not want to in any way misspell Iori's name on Iori's birthday. So again, happy birthday, Iori. This was a lot of fun,
you.
and it was a very strange experience, let me tell you all, of listening to all of the different downtime activities while at the same time grading Revenge Tragedy papers about the weirdness of the Duchess of Malfi and the Revenger's Tragedy. And I'm like, there's some kind of kismetic type quality that connects these two activities of watching this. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was great to see. And as always, this has been a fun crew. And also, if I can just throw, thank you for... Oh, see, and Arudinel gifted a tier 1 sub to Kusano Iori, which is Iori Kusano. So thank you, Arudinel, for the gifting of the tier 1 sub. Thank you. And that completely got out of my head what I was... Oh, I just wanted to make a quick note about, I don't know, I noticed the reactions there, but Crossroads, I am a friend, you are my friend. Was this very moving moment? Was I the only one who felt this way? I was just kind of like, yeah, there's something funny to it. It's also really cool. Like everyone is just like, wow, that was a... So let me just say, good work by Jeoi. I think partly because it took a while to get to the point where something like that comes out. So when it does land, it's powerful. So nicely done. It felt very real and organic and very appropriate.
Like me.
I think. Exactly. But anyway, it was really great. So I really enjoyed having this on here. And Brandon, as always, great work from the GM chair of setting the world in the way it is. I want to thank the players all, and I want to thank my co-host Mike from Speculate. And as I said, you will hear more from the Speculate folks very soon, as we have plans in the works that we have discussed.
The plans.
And the plans there are so many plans and so many works. But we're looking forward to revealing a lot of that to you soon. But in the meantime, I would like to thank the wonderful cast. And I'm going to say, I think, good night to all of them. Before I say good night, actually, very quickly, just a reminder while Brandon's still on the screen, remember everybody that next month, November 22nd, is our fundraiser for the Sound Clash Clampdown show, which Brandon also runs on this channel, although not as a part of Speculate. And that is going to be a one-day fundraiser to raise money for Sound Clash the Clampdown, which also has an amazing cast and crew. And so, yeah.
While I'm on screen, I should show a thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, show me. Okay, please show the thing. I'm excited to see the thing.
So I'm considering that one of the games that we end up playing on the 22nd will come from this.
Oh yeah, the ultimate micro RPG book, which is like,
Cool.
I didn't realize that it had that awesome tear out option, by the way, that you can like tear out the
Yeah.
page of the one you want to use, like it's a
Every
paper
single
airplane
game
book.
in this
I love it.
book is the size is designed to fit on one square sheet of paper that you can just take out whenever you want. And not only do I have a game in this book, A Machine Larger Than You, but several of the games in this book are actually designed by members of the Sound Clash crew. There's a game here by Nathan Blades and a game here by Amar Amaraz. And they're really dope. The entire book is really dope. And I'm really excited by the idea of perhaps playing one of these games on the 22nd. We haven't decided yet. A lot of conversations still yet to be had.
Yes.
But I think it would be really, really cool. So yeah.
So it's good stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. I am excited to see that thing. Whenever Brandon says, I have a thing, it's always going to be good, whatever it turns out that is. But thank you for being patient, rest of the cast, and thank you all, Speculate folks, for listening to us. Chat in Twitch, can we get some love for the wonderful players on a really great session today? Thank you to Valerie Valdes, to Iori Kusano, to Mike Underwood, to Jeoi Gawain, and to Brandon O'Brien. Thank you so much, Blades crew, and we will see you folks next month.
And please remember, the In This Moment anthology Kickstarter has 4 days left to go.
Yep.
Brandon and I are both supposed to be on table of contents for that.
Yep.
So if you are interested in putting more of our words into your eyes, you should be backing this Kickstarter.
Absolutely. And that's actually, that we just linked it again. I've been talking about that a lot, and it's very true. Not only Iori, Brandon, but just a wonderful list of contributors, and it's an important anthology also, so I hope you will be able to support them. Thanks, everybody. Crew, we will see you folks soon.
Bye.
Bye for now. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and folks of all types, that is going to bring this to a conclusion. And it was a really fun session. I mean, it was also enjoyable because I was able to, stick around for much of it, even though I was grading in the midst of doing it. But I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I think the people that have had a chance to come and see this, as I move over there, the folks who have had a chance to see more of this have really gotten a lot out of, I think, this channel, out of the show on this channel, because it's kind of its own unique thing, and that we don't really have anything like it running. And so I think it's great that we've been able to host it here, and we've been able to make this part of the Speculate festivities. And so with one last sign off to the Speculate listeners, I will say thank you, Speculate listeners. Please continue to give us your feedback at speculatesf.com, and please support our Patreon. We really would love to do more of these, but we really need help to make that happen, and that is patreon.com/speculate. So please give that some support if you possibly can, because it would be great. Oh no, totally, Rudnell. And again, I you know the drill. Like, I don't ever want to push anybody beyond anything, because there's a lot of projects and a lot of other things out there. I get it. It's one of those things that I'm just glad to see if it gets attention and exposure, and that's great, because obviously I'm a big fan of Athos, and I'm a big fan of the concept of the anthology. So, but thank you to the Speculate listeners and Speculate folks. We will see you all very soon. And that leads us, last but certainly not least, to the amazing Twitch viewers. And it's great to see, again, everyone who was able to stop by. Arvanauts, thank you all for being awesome peoples. And just a couple of reminders of what we got coming up. Tomorrow, Monday night, we have got Emberwind with the return of the Ember crew. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern with John Helfers as GM. And then we've got Assad and Jen and Marie and Brahms as your crew. And that campaign has been going places also, so that's going to be great. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then Tuesday at noon Eastern, we have got Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is the Patreon-fueled chat-chosen game of the month. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern over on GOG.com on Pen and Pixels, we have got more of the Viporum Lockdown playthrough. Now, I do want to make one note here, which is that it is possible that there may be a slight adjustment in time schedule on Pen and Pixels. I need to get confirmation for that, but because there are a lot of Europeans who listen to who tune into that channel, the Europeans are going basically doing the whole fallback thing and turning their clocks back, I believe, this weekend, and we are not doing this until next weekend because we're dumb. So that means that I may end up going a little bit earlier. So I don't know. I may I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go a little earlier. We'll see. It may mean that my show on this channel will go until like, say, 2:30 or something, and then I might start over there at like 3:30. I don't know. So this week is going to be a little weird. So just sort of stay tuned to Twitter/this channel, and we will update people because time zones are a thing. And then Wednesday and Thursday we will be off, and then Friday we will be back here at 7 p.m. for the epic conclusion of the Infinity and Beyond crew playing Curse of Strahd, and we will bring a 2-year epic of very challenging and very sort of involved and sometimes terrifying and sometimes deeply sad, but always intense and very rewarding role play. And we're going to be bringing that to a close at 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday. We're going to run from Friday at 7 p.m. until sometime in the morning on Saturday, 1 or 2 in the morning probably. On Halloween is when we will wrap that up. And then Halloween night, Saturday night, we will be back with the annual readings of The Raven and another Poe story. I have to decide which one. And then we'll also be playing a little bit of Metroid Fusion as we move over from Halloween into November 1st. So that's kind of the plan. I am indeed going to dress up on Saturday nonstop. I haven't decided exactly what the costume is going to look like. I think my cloak that I have will be involved. I'd like to do more than that, but I haven't decided how much more involved. I can promise you that there will be some people who will bring the cosplay like you have not believed. I'm pretty confident I can say Little Red Dot is going to bring the madness on that score because Little Red Dot is pretty awesome on cosplay as it is. If anybody saw recently on her Twitter, she posted this thing from Coriolis, and her costume for that was on point. So I expect that's the case. I expect that we'll get some good costumes from Soaks. I think we'll get Tren to do this, hopefully John. And I'm hoping Rob, I think the one who's going to be the question mark is Sod. Can we get Sod to officially dress up in something approximating his character? I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to push too far, but maybe. But you'll see some of us will be dressed up regardless, and all of us will be here to bring you the role play. So I really hope we can spread the word because that is going to be pretty awesome. So if you like what you saw and heard today, please follow the channel. Check out the YouTube, the !ArvTube, Discord, the !ArvCord. I believe I've talked about this before, but you can also sub to our podcast since we talked about this today, !Speculate. Hair gel, trim up a nice goatee and theatrical fangs. You got all the dress jackets and stuff already. Very nice. Well, yeah, now I got the longer hair, whatever going on. So I've got this thing's all right. So, but anyway, and then all of that is on my website, arvanelaron.com. On the financial side, !Arv Shop for Adventures of Middle-earth and Infinity and Beyond merchandise. !Arv Treon for that Patreon right over there, which is my channel Patreon. Although today, if you're thinking about supporting the Speculate Patreon would be helpful too, because that's the one that we're pushing on these days. And then, of course, we've got the sub button, which a couple of you did, including a Rudinell being very nice to give a gift sub to Iori. And that gift sub is, which those subs will allow you to get your custom emotes and sub badges and all that kind of stuff, plus get inspirations for the players who may need them. Both there and from the Patreon. On the publishing side, Icarus, which is my Icarus graphic novel coming out on November 10th of next month. So November 10th. So we're closing in on the release, retail release of that. I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library under Library, because the print editions of those are on the way now. They're officially being printed and sent. We're past proofs now. We're already being printed as we speak. So I'm very excited about that. And then, of course, Gray Shade KS, which is going to be a big Kickstarter for me in February. Very excited about that as well, and there's going to be so much going on with that also. The hardcovers have already been mailed back by me. I mailed them back on Friday, so the hardcovers are signed and mailed back to me. So when Athos gets them, which should be mid next week, I have a feeling they will turn that around fairly quickly. So yes, hardcovers should be getting shipped out to you folks in the next couple of weeks. So you should be getting those in November at some point. But in terms, so that's separate and that's already taken care of. The hardcovers, the prints for the Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, those print editions, though, that's a different thing. So Icarus Kickstarter hardcovers are going to be shipped out soon to the Kickstarter backers. The retail editions of the Icarus print stuff, that, as I say, is releasing on November 10th. As far as library is concerned, the print editions of those, which I think are in soft cover, not hardcover, I think, those are coming out, as I say, those are on their way. So I'm very excited about that. And again, about the Gray Shade stuff, which will be February of next year. And then last but certainly not least, of course, BLM, Black Lives Matter. We continue to talk about this significance of this, and will continue to do so in the time ahead. So I've talked quite a bit about that tonight already. Exclamation point, vote now. Nothing more important right now than making sure you are registered to vote and that your voice is heard. Many of my viewers here have already voted early or have mailed in their ballots or are getting ready to vote, have a plan. Have a plan, be registered to vote, have a plan, and early vote if you can. And if you can't, then make sure you vote in person when you're able to. Just make sure that you do it, because it is important that we get everyone voting if you're a U.S. citizen this time, because it's really, really important. And last but certainly not least, what everyone has talked about a bunch of times already, but I will post one more time, and that is that Athos Arts anthology. That again, and this is anthology again. I just think it's an important one, so I'm hoping people will be able to jump on board. It's at 59.78 and 199 backers. It's got just under 4 days to go, so like 3 hours and 20 or 3 days and 23 hours or something. So it's a long way to go. You know, it's like not quite 25% funded, that type of thing. But who knows, if it gets in front of the right people, maybe it'll be able to take off. But I as you know, I like Athos, so that's why I've been talking a little bit about this anthology, and I think it's an important antho. So hopefully some folks will be able to give support on that score. And I think that's the only thing I need to mention, except to thank everyone for being part of this joint Speculate and channel venture. Special thanks to the players, to the GM, and of course to my co-host Mike Underwood for all of this awesomeness. And I'm going to see you lovely folks for Emberwind tomorrow on Monday. Let me just double check and see who we are going to. We're going to get a chance to actually do a raid today. I'm going to log out of the Blades in the Dark game. Okay, there's that. And there's that. And let's see what we've got. Okay, I think I know. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this person is... I may be able to do that. We'll see. Yeah, I know who we're going to raid. I got it. I got who we're going to raid. So when we do raids, real simple. Raids are done like this. If you are not a sub, you are going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you're going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch raid. You've got Arvany Roar, Arvany Hype. You could throw in some Arvany Woes, Arvany Witches, all that other Arvany stuff. You can throw in there. All of that would be much appreciated, as I make sure that I have the person that we're going to be raiding. So yeah, just make sure you do that. And thanks everyone for being here again. Thank you to my wonderful mods, first of all. Arudinel, thank you for holding down the fort. I appreciate it as always. Good stuff today. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers, Arudinel Nonstop, Crit Twitch, Lone Wolf, The Rising Tides, Trisha Metz, and Turbo Tango. And again, thanks to Turbo Tango as a player and Rising Tides as GM. Great stuff as always. Thank you to Aiden, Commander Root, Feet, Gigafrost, Gorgar, Jagtrist, Lurks, Mrs. Dunsel. Thank you to Scum TTV. Thank you to Scum Shop, Tauntoms. The kids are asleep. Thank you, Valerie, so much. Thank you to you, Christensen, VNK, Virgo Praz, Wee Mad Hamish, WizKid, Wookie Cookie 64, and Zach Clay, who I see snuck in the background, that guy. But thank you so much to them. Thank you so much again to the players, to the GM, and thank you all for being lovely, wonderful people. Stick around for the raid, and I will see you folks tomorrow, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, for something awesome, which we like to call Emberwind. I literally was looking at my page, my paper that's waiting to be graded, and I was like, Revenge Tragedy. No, Emberwind. So I'll see you folks for Emberwind tomorrow. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.
Sun is hidden far from